All right, Jordan Jones from goldenblack.com here with head coach of Men of Mackey, Ryne Smith. Ryan, we're about 2 weeks away from the Dayton Regional of the TBT. How are you getting ready to coach in your third TBT this year with the Men of Mackey?
Yeah, just getting excited for it. It's kind of a weird deal where you're not really necessarily sure, what Mid-American Unity, the team we're playing, they're going to run. Obviously, their personnel, some of the guys in their team, like, Antonio Ballard, Antonio Williams, Joshua Treadville, Javon Best, all those guys. But it's kind of one of those things where you kind of focus on yourself, reaching out to each guy on our team individually, just seeing what they're comfortable with in terms of actions and offenses and things like that. But ultimately, just getting your mind right, getting ready. It's exciting.
With that, I know I talked to Ryan Kay a couple of weeks ago, and he brought up that you've done training camp in the past. I know you did before last year. You guys doing a mini training camp for a few days before you guys meet up in Dayton, or what's the plan with that this year?
Yeah. So we play the 24th, which is a Sunday. I think we're all going to get together, I think on the night of the 21st for the first time, kind of get a practice in, then maybe do a two-a-day on Friday and Saturday just to get ready. And it's not like your typical two-a-day. It's more to walk through your offense and make sure I'm not like, we're not running lines or anything like that. These guys are all pros. So get together maybe twice a day leading up into that first game, just to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of communication and things like that. But yeah, it's a little bit shorter than last year. Last year, I think we went 5 or 6 days, which kind of drug out, kind of got lengthy. And I felt like maybe in the second game against Carmen's crew, we were a little sluggish, lackadaisical, but a little shorter this year, but definitely looking forward to it.
What's it like? You have a very interesting group of players, because you have some guys who, are still playing overseas professionally, and you have some guys who aren't playing competitively, at least for a profession anymore. What's that blend like when you have guys who have been playing all year, like a Kyle Mangus, and then you have guys, like Robbie, who's been flying all over the country for 5 months calling games?
I think the biggest thing that I see with our roster, and it's been like this each and every year, whether they're playing still competitively or not, it's a maturity level. It's kind of different. Like I was going from a high school coach, 10 years ago, to moving into the college ranks. And now all of a sudden I'm working with these professionals, whether they're still playing or not. It's a level of maturity in terms of the game. Like you can put a set in the first time and call it out 10 minutes later and they got it. Like you don't got to go over it again. So no matter whether or not they're still playing or not, it's that level of, it's just a different level. They've played professionally before. They've been on professional programs, professional teams. Some of these guys like Rob in the NBA. So the basketball IQ is definitely at another notch, which actually helps me, in my own profession, just learning from them.
Absolutely. This is your third time coaching Men of Mackey, right? You've been around for all three. What is it about the Men of Mackey in the TBT that kind of keeps you excited and keeps you coming back?
Well, I think the cornerstone of it is just being affiliated with Purdue still. I think that's huge. I think when you go through there as a player and you get your degree from that institution, it creates that bond between who you did it with and the school. So my wife's a Purdue grad. I'm a Purdue grad. I think that connection there is huge. I think Ryan Kay's done an excellent job of trying to keep it within Purdue culture and get guys on the roster who are really good guys. So I think that's the biggest thing about it is being able to put on gold and black again, even if I'm not, playing for them or on their staff. It's a way to stay connected.
One of the cooler things I noticed, looking at the roster is, you've got yourself coaching, and then you've got Lewis, you've got Robbie, and you've got Kelsey Barlow. All of you guys played together at Purdue. What's that like, getting you four back together for, I'm sure you guys keep in touch some, but actually getting back together for a little bit of an extended period of time?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think last summer when we got together in Columbus, one of the first nights we went to practice, we came home, we had dinner in the hotel, and we started talking and chatting, and all of a sudden we blinked, it was like 1 a.m. We were still just up, talking, telling old stories. So it's like 10 years has passed since we've been on the court together as teammates for Purdue. But it's like we blinked and those 10 years didn't happen. It's like we're right back in the same locker room, talking about the same things, joking about the same stuff. So that's really cool for me to go back and work with those guys. And, I tell people this all the time. I'm not really looking to go in there and coach them up like super hard. That's not my intention. My intention is to go in there and learn as much from them as I can, because like I said, they're still doing it. They're still playing at a high level.
I was talking to Ryan Kay, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, and he brought up how different kind of preparing for games is with the Elam ending. Talk about coaching with that, because it's so different than what you do for a living, being at Mercer, Incarnate Word, Miami, Ohio. It's a 40-minute game. Here with TBT, It's a little bit different. So talk about how the approach changes for that.
Yeah. So when you get into the fourth quarter, I think the time and the score is essentially the most important thing. So depending on what the score is at, like if you're up 4 with the ball and you get a basket underneath the 4-minute mark, are you thinking about calling a timeout because you don't want them to go down and score and make the score closer than what it could have been if you called a timeout? Or if you're down, what's your strategy if you're down going into that 4-minute mark? So there is a lot of strategic things that need to change when you think about it. But once you're in, it's pretty cool. It's incredibly intense. It's incredibly physical. They want the game to end on a basket, not a free throw. So they're going to let a lot of things go. So it's certainly a different approach.
Kind of talk about, with it being a 64-team single elimination tournament, obviously you played in it, you've coached in conference tournaments and all that, but what's it kind of like being the head coach when you know that you walk in for the first time as a team and it could be your last already?
Yeah. It raises your sense of urgency a little bit, because you like last year you go through that entire team team camp together as a group, and you have so much fun. So you're going into the game thinking, man, this would really suck if we ended up losing this game, because we'd only get one opportunity together. But it's basketball. I mean, that's what it is. I think that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting. This tournament is great. Just knowing that you worked this whole entire time since the ending of last tournament for yourself for this one. So it's exciting.
Looking ahead, as I said at the start, 2 weeks away. How are you feeling about this group? How are you feeling about the draw in the Dayton Regional, and kind of what the road to the $1 million is going to look like for you guys?
Well, it's difficult no matter where you get placed in the bracket. Being a Northwest Ohio guy myself, that's where I grew up, right in the middle of Mac country. And then being able to get just, an hour and so south of where I grew up in Dayton is pretty exciting. But the road is tough. I mean, there's really good players on every single team. I know we got, Jimmer and, Crawford waiting for us on the other side with the money team, but can't look ahead to them because, the Mid-American Unity's got a lot of really, really good players, a lot of guys who have been really productive in their college careers and professionally. So the focus has got to be on them. It's just a little different because, we're not going to this tournament knowing exactly what Mid-American Unity is going to run on offense. We're not going to know what they're going to be doing defensively quite yet, because we don't have a whole lot of tape on them. It's different from being a college coach. So I think in-game adjustments are huge, and I rely heavily on our team when they're out there, chirping back at me on the bench to change something. It's imperative in those games because you don't have that, film data backup.
Absolutely. You kind of brought up the Purdue connection to Men of Mackey meaning so much. Does it mean a little more given that, a lot of your coaching and director of basketball ops experience has come kind of within the Purdue family at all 3 of your stops?
Yeah. It's a very tight-knit family. It's an incredible coaching tree, coaching web. So all 3 stops have been heavily Purdue influenced. So it's important to me to have a good showing. It's important to me to be prepared going in and take each, take stuff from what I've learned on each stop going into this tournament and kind of, mold it into what we need for Men of Mackey for sure.
I guess lastly, I'm sure it's always interesting, looking at the blend of players you guys are able to get, because while I know you'd love to have a roster of 12 Purdue guys, it's not always that easy. I know Ryan had talked about that a lot. How do you kind of blend the guys together under the Purdue branding, even though, you only have a handful of Purdue guys on this year's team?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is ahead of time, just figuring out what each guy, has in mind for themselves. Because ultimately it is kind of a showcase for each individual player being on ESPN, and guys who play overseas don't necessarily get that type of exposure very often. So for them going into this, it's important for me that they feel comfortable, that they know that there's something in place for themselves when they're going into these games, which is important for me. But honestly, I'm just excited about our roster. Like I'm excited about the guys. I know what the guys who have Purdue connections can bring, but I'm excited about the new guys too. Like, John Harrah from Penn State. I'm excited to shake his hand. I hope he doesn't break my arm off when I shake his hand. A guy like Evan Maxwell, who's big and skilled. Kyle Mangus can score from all over. So all those guys, I'm excited about. And last year was kind of different. We kind of, put the Purdue guys with Purdue connections in our camp in a 5-on-5 setting against the guys who didn't have Purdue connections. And it was kind of an odd thing, from a coaching standpoint going into the game, because I felt like the guys who didn't have Purdue connections, who when they were playing together in camp, played really well together. So I felt like they needed to play together in the game. So it was kind of like, I felt like I was line changing in hockey. I felt like I was doing that too much, but with the data I had compiled from our training camp, like that's who was playing well together. Our Purdue guys played well together. Our non-Purdue guys played well together. So I felt like they needed to stick with each other. So we'll get a good sense of that come the team camp, come on the 20th, 21st, and then leading into that Sunday. So like I said before, just really excited to work with the group and get back after it.
How many times are you going to yell "move" on the sidelines in that first game?
Maybe I have to make a conscious effort to scream it out just to pay homage to the head ball coach himself. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll pick one guy to scream "move" at, and we'll go from there.
There you go. Just closing out. Is there anything else you want our viewers and listeners to know about Men of Mackey here 2 weeks ahead of the tournament?
No, I just really appreciate all the support. Each every year, the first year we were in the bubble, we got a big win against Team Heartfire, and the love and support that the Purdue fans had shown for guys who hadn't been involved with the program for almost a decade was incredible. And the same thing last year, the turnout in Columbus was crazy. It was loud. It felt like mini Mackey Arena in there. So just that following and support is important for us, and they've done a really, really good job of that, and that's certainly appreciated.
All right, that's Ryne Smith, head coach of Men of Mackey. Their first game coming up here in 2 weeks, Sunday, July 24th, night game. So we will have plenty of stuff on the site leading up to that. Thanks for joining me today, Ryan.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.